Okay, we are going to finish up our notes over taxes. So I'm going to go through this. You can obviously rewind and pause and so forth, but some things that you need in order to file a tax return. Something that's called the W-2 form, which is provided to you by your employer. So you will get this mailed to you, and the W-2 form will have the information that you need in order to file taxes. So then the other thing you're going to need is a tax rate table. That's primarily if you're going to do something by hand. If you're using an app or a website, normally it will pull that information in, but again, we want to know and understand where the numbers are coming from. Calculator will be helpful, and then if you choose to, you can always send your information to somebody else and have them actually prepare your tax return. Some final thoughts about taxes. Keep your returns for 7 years. The IRS can come and ask you and audit you um, up to 7 years ago. So it's always a good idea to have them somewhere safe, whether it's a hard copy. If you have them on your computer, have a backup somewhere. And then obviously always just pay your taxes. It's law. So you don't want to get yourself into any trouble by trying to avoid that. So those are some things with taxes. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through an actual uh, file process, and use a 1040. So I'm going to head to what I need to do here. Hopefully, you would get a 1040 handed out. It's not letting me do what I need to do, of course. Okay, so you will get this as a hard copy. So I want you to write some things out. And yours will actually start on a page similar to this. You will also have a W-2 on yours. I do not have that W-2 on this printout, but you would have that as part of the assignment. Okay, so first off, this is for 2018. So every year you need to make sure you're using the correct form, and they change a little bit from year to year. So you always want to make sure everything is up to date. So first off, to find your wages, salary, and tips, you're going to go to your W-2 that's located on your bottom half of your printout, and you're just going to look in box 1, which is the first number in that first column of numbers. So it says 16,500. Okay. Then 25 cents. All right. Then we're going to come into row 2 or box 2, and it talks about tax exempt interest. This is normally from like your bank, and you would get documentation for this. So you look at it and go through the process, and they would give you the information. So you don't have to go and hunt and find and all of that. So we're just going to say we have a form that tells us we have $300 of taxable interest. We're not going to worry about dividends or IRAs or Social Security, okay? We're not going to have any of those. So line 6 just says to add them all up. So we're to 16,800, 25 cents, okay? And so you can leave these boxes blank. Some people put zeros or hyphens. All right, so now line 7 asks us for our adjusted gross income. So we don't need any, we didn't make any adjustments. We're not adding anything. So we just carry over our same number. So again, this is a simple form and it's meant to be simple. 8 says standard deduction or itemized. So your standard deduction comes over here, and if we're going to go with the single, is $12,000. Itemized, if you cannot prove that you spent more than $12,000 on the specific types of deductions that you can claim, then always use your standard which are in our case, we will go with 12,000. Okay. 9 talks about qualified business. We're not going to worry about that either. That is if you have your own business of sorts. 10 talks about taxable income, so we're going to subtract, okay, 8 and 9, which we only have one number, from line 7. Okay, so if we're going to subtract 12,000 from 16,800, we should get 4,800. Can't forget about our 25 cents. So then 11 is where you're going to need that tax table. Okay, so I have that available for us. So this is a 2018 tax table. Okay, so what you're going to do is based on what we have calculated, $4,800. That's what we are taxed on. Even though we made $16,800, we're still only taxed on $4,800. So this is where that deduction comes into play. Okay, so we're going to look up 4,800. Okay, all right, so we got to scroll down. Okay, and we got to find 4,800 as our income. And so they explain to you if line 10 is between, we got to find the 4,000s. 4,800, it would get us 483. Okay, so 48, and then we have our 25 cents, but we always go with the bottom one, 483. So we come back here and we put 483. We're not going to have anything else. So box 11, 483. So essentially what's happening is, instead of getting taxed on 16,800, we're only getting taxed on 4,800. So let's just look at that 16,800. So if we were going to get taxed on 16,800, we would pay over $1,800 in taxes. Okay, so that's where it's important we have this deduction. Okay, 12, we're not going to have anything for tax credit. So 13 says to subtract 12 from 11, which we don't have anything to subtract, so 483. 14 asks us if we have other taxes. We are not. 15, total tax. Okay, add up 13 and 14. So again, 483. For these simple forms, we really don't have a lot of information that we have to worry about. 16 says, what have we already withheld from our taxes? We're going to look at that W-2 form again. So if you look at the bottom, okay, of your handout, in that box 2, which is the top of the second column of numbers, it says 2,097 and 54 cents. Okay, so that's what we have already paid in. Okay, so over the course of the year, what was withheld from our pay was a total of $2,097. Okay, 17 refundable credits. Again, we would get forms. We're not going to worry about that. So 18 says to add. So we're adding 0 to the 2,097. So now it says 19. If 18 is more than 15, so box 18 is more than 15, which it is, subtract 15 from 18. So you got to subtract 483 from 2,097. Oops. And so essentially what happened is this person would get a refund of $1,614.54. So from each paycheck, based on the W-4, they're taking out too much from what they end up needing to pay in, because after it's adjusted to get your gross in or your taxable income, you don't have to pay 16. Okay, you're not getting taxed on $16,000. You're getting taxed on $4,800. So that's kind of where you can adjust your W-4. So if you didn't want a refund, you wanted to take less out of each pay period, you would need to account for that. Okay, so that's your practice one. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get a handout for Joe, and you're going to have a 2019. Okay, so if you read the packet about Joe Hernandez, it starts by saying that he is single. So we would mark single. Okay, we'd fill in the information, and it also states that he wants to contribute to the presidential election. And so the rest of the information we don't have to worry about. I'm not going to make you put in the address. Okay, his name's in there. We're good to go. He has no children. So you're just starting down in number 1. So using Joe's information, see what you come up with at the end of it all, if he gets a refund or if he has to pay it. In Classroom, you will have access to the tax table for 2019. Okay, so that will help you with that. So that's what we did today, and in the next class period, we will check to see if Joe gets a refund or if he has to pay.